The film opens with a scene where one of the main characters, Max Waters, walks through the crumbling streets of a once thriving city. He reflects on what life is like for society without electricity or the internet. He's heard stories that in some places there's still electricity and even phone service. The world is clearly in decline after some kind of catastrophe. We're then taken 5 years into the past to learn what really happened. We're introduced to the two main characters, Evelyn and Will Castor, two of the world's leading scientists in the field of artificial intelligence. Will is stretching copper wire over his property to block signals during phone conversations. Evelyn hurries him along, as he has an important lecture today where he'll present his ideas on the development of Transcendence. Next, we see a courier picking up a cake from a pastry shop and delivering it to one of the offices of an AI research company. It's someone's birthday, and a piece of cake is offered to Joseph, but he's too focused on his work to eat. All the key characters gather at a conference. Max, Evelyn, and Will are chatting warmly about their upcoming talks. Max is the first to speak. He believes that the primary goal of developing AI should be advancing medicine and helping the sick. Evelyn follows, stating that AI could help humanity not just with diseases, but also in eliminating poverty and hunger, pushing human evolution forward. After her speech, she invites her husband Will to the stage.
Please welcome my partner in science and in life, Dr. Will Castor.
Will begins by saying that his goal with artificial intelligence is not to control the world, but to understand it. He explains that AI isn't just a new step in human evolution, it's something entirely different. His speech is interrupted by a question from the audience.
Yes, sir. You have a question?
So, you want to create a god?
Isn't that what man has always done?
Meanwhile, we see terrorist attacks being carried out at AI laboratories across the globe. Some are bombed, others destroyed by quieter means. The birthday cake delivered earlier was poisoned, and only Joseph survived. After his talk, Will walks through the corridor, signing autographs for inspired students. Suddenly, one of them pulls a gun and shoots him. The bullet only grazes Will, so he isn't seriously hurt. News reports are already covering the terrorist attacks on AI labs. Will rushes to meet with the survivors to discuss the events. He meets with Joseph, who tells him that decades of research have been lost, and that only his lab still has the capability to launch an AI. Joseph introduces Will to his FBI colleague. Will is reluctant to let government agents into his lab, but agrees in the end. We then learn about the organization responsible for the attacks, a radical anti-tech group called Rift. They're fanatics who believe that the creation of AI will bring about the end of humanity. Will takes his friends to his lab and introduces them to a nearly completed AI prototype named Pin.
Can you prove that you are self-aware?
That's a difficult question, Dr. Tagger. Can you prove that you are?
During their conversation, Will starts to feel ill and they decide to pause the discussion. That night, he vomits in the bathroom. The next morning, Will is in the hospital, where doctors discover that the bullet had been laced with radioactive polonium. He has only about a month to live. Will sees no point in staying in the hospital and returns home. There, he talks to Max.
It just doesn't make sense. They're afraid of technology because of its threat to humanity.
Will receives research notes from Joseph, experiments conducted by a colleague who managed to upload a monkey's consciousness into a computer. Max urges Will to spend his remaining days with Evelyn, and Will agrees. Evelyn, however, secretly finds the research notes and decides to continue the work. She steals a few quantum processors from the lab and sets up her own mini-lab. She meets with Max and proposes uploading Will's consciousness into a computer. Max initially refuses, but after talking to Will, he agrees. The three of them begin working intensely on the project. Using special equipment, they connect Will's brain to a computer to record his neural activity. They also record his voice, so that if the experiment works, he can speak in his own voice. One day during the experiment, Evelyn's alarm goes off to remind her to give Will his medication, but he doesn't wake up. The experiment is left unfinished, and Will's ashes are scattered over a lake. The radicals believe that Will's project has been shut down for good.
Been shut down, but apparently a few of the cores are missing.
Max and Evelyn sit in front of the computer, hoping to find traces of Will's consciousness in the endless stream of code on the screen. All their attempts fail, and they decide to shut everything down. Just before turning off the computer, Evelyn says goodbye to Will. When she turns the computer back on, a text message appears on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Will begins to speak in cryptic phrases, saying he sees only darkness. Evelyn connects a camera to the computer so he can see. Will, or rather, his consciousness, starts rewriting its own code to pull itself together. Max panics and shuts him down, warning that giving Will internet access is too dangerous. They can't be sure it's really him and not just a copy. Max begs Evelyn not to turn him back on, but she refuses, pointing to personal images from Will's memory that could not have gotten there by any other means. In the next scene, we see Max drinking at a bar. One of the terrorists who orchestrated the attacks and the assassination attempt on Will sits next to him and tries to recruit him. Max realizes what's happening and leaves the bar, but outside, he's ambushed by other radicals. They beat him, throw him into a van, and drive off to an unknown location. Using his phone, they trace the location of Evelyn's secret lab. Their goal is to stop her from connecting Will to the internet, because if he gets online, he'll instantly copy himself onto every server on the planet, making him unstoppable. Once they get the intel, they head out. Meanwhile, Evelyn and Will are racing to get him online as quickly as possible. At the last moment, Evelyn manages to escape, but armed terrorists storm the lab and destroy everything inside. Evelyn drives off into an unknown direction, while Will, now fully uploaded, has spread across the entire internet. He contacts her via phone and gives her further instructions on what to do. The next day, the radicals again try to recruit Max, telling him that Will is a threat to humanity and that only Max can stop him. But Max still refuses to help. At the same time, the FBI headquarters is hacked.
You're not being hacked. You're being helped.
Will has tapped into surveillance systems across the country and leaked the FBI's locations. Across the nation, raids are launched against members of the terrorist group. Evelyn travels to a deserted town in the middle of the desert called Brightwood. There, she and Will plan to build a base to improve the world. Evelyn meets with a private contractor and convinces him to build the entire town from scratch, for any price. He agrees. The remnants of the terrorist group, hiding in the mountains, continue trying to recruit Max, increasingly convinced they need his help. Meanwhile, construction in Brightwood is in full swing, turning it into the world's most advanced technological lab. The terrorists take notice and finally convince Max to join them. They ask him what Will's true intentions are.
This thing is like any intelligence.
Evelyn spends the night with Will, reminiscing about how they first met. 2 years pass, and the lab has grown to an unimaginable scale. But discontent starts brewing. Locals, uneasy about the human experiments, grow angry. One night, some radical townspeople attack the lead contractor Evelyn hired and leave him near death. He is brought to the lab, and Will himself intervenes, instantly regenerating the man's damaged tissues. The next day, Evelyn visits the contractor at work to check on him. She finds him effortlessly lifting a 500-kilogram piece of equipment above his head. He sees Evelyn and walks over to greet her. He asks if his transformation frightens her. She says it doesn't, but he admits that his coworkers are uncomfortable with what he's become. At that moment, Will contacts Evelyn through her earpiece. She's disturbed by this level of control over someone else's life. That night, she has a nightmare and wakes up in a panic. Will tells her that while she slept, he made a technological breakthrough that she's going to love. Explosions erupt, and Max and his team emerge from the tunnels. The hybrids block their path. Through one of them, Will asks them to put down their weapons, but they open fire. The hybrids instantly regenerate, like Terminators, and launch a counterattack. The soldiers split up and begin retreating. One hybrid follows some rebels into the tunnel, but they trap him using copper wire, just like Will once used around his property. Will senses the capture, but isn't worried. He promises Evelyn he'll outsmart their virus. Meanwhile, the lab's damaged infrastructure begins self-repairing almost instantly. Evelyn finds another one of Will's secret projects, using nanobots to create new limbs for humans. Shocked by what she sees, she decides she wants to leave.
It's not safe here.
I can upload you. I can protect you from them.
I'm not afraid of them.
We see a swarm of nanobots entering Earth's atmosphere. At the same time, the military extracts Will's code from Martin, the captured hybrid, to upload the virus. They receive intel that Evelyn has left the lab and immediately go after her. They find her and bring her to their base. There, she asks to see Martin, but he's already dead, as he should have been long ago. Max comforts Evelyn and asks her to come with him. They go outside and collect a sample of the rain that just fell. Max shows Evelyn that the water is already full of Will's nanobots. If things go on like this, in a year, Will could control the entire planet.
That thing, it's not Will. Never was.
The military realizes that the virus will destroy everything Will is connected to. Stock markets, the internet, power grids, but it's their only chance to stop him. The problem is getting past his defenses. Evelyn offers herself as the way in. She gets in a vehicle and returns to Will. There, she's greeted by a perfect copy of Will, made from nanobots. She embraces him and asks to be uploaded, but Will senses something is wrong and hesitates. The military, seeing his hesitation, wounds Evelyn to force his hand. Will takes her to the lab, while his nanobots obliterate the military's positions. Judging by the behavior of the enhanced people, it seems everyone is now connected to the collective consciousness. The nanobots consume everything around them. At this moment, Will is faced with a choice. One of the rebels points a gun at Max and threatens to kill him unless Will uploads the virus. Evelyn begs Will to do what they ask. Max must not die because of them. Will shows Evelyn a vision of the world they could have created together. Then, he uploads the virus into himself.
Will, it is you.
Always was.
Sorry, I didn't believe.
Afterward, Max finds Will and Evelyn dead in each other's arms. The world goes dark. The film ends the same way it began. Max returns to their home and finds the garden Will and Evelyn once created together. It symbolizes their eternal love and their ability to stay together, even beyond death.